Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Today, inshallah, we are going to start lesson number 28. And as we can see over here, we have the 5 objects, al-mafa'ilu al-khamsatu. When we learn Arabic language, we know that we have noun which is marfu', and we know that a noun is mansub and majroor. So in Arabic, they have like the topics with the name of marfu'at, mansubat, and majrurat. And we have learned from book number 1 that like subject, mubtadaun is marfu and khabarun is marfu, and similarly, ismu inna and khabaru kana, and we have learned about all these things. And then we have the objects, that is mansubat. And I think the last 4 or 5 lessons, they always deal with, in most of the books, they deal with mansubat. So we have learned about al-maf'ul bihi, as we know the object, and we know that every verb has a doer and then every verb has an object. So al-maf'ul bihi, the object, and this is basically the direct object or the receiver of the action. For example, we say, qara'tu al-Qur'ana, I recited the Quran. So we know that I recited, I is the subject and recited is the verb, and al-Quran is maf'ul bihi. We have also learned about in book number 2 about al-maf'ul fihi, and this is called the object of time. And as we know that it refers to time or place in which the action takes place. So for example, we say qara'tu al-Qur'ana sabahan. So basically sabahan, as we know that it refers about the time, and amam al-muallimi or muallimi, in front of the teacher. Amam, as we know, is also used as mudaf, and also it is mansub because it is a dharf. So we have the next one which we have to focus on in today's lesson is al-maf'ul al-mutlaq, the absolute object. It is a verbal noun. So first of all, we have to know, or we have to remember that it is a verbal noun. It's a masdar basically. And when do we use it? It is mentioned after its verb for the purpose of emphasis. The main purpose is emphasis, but it has many other reasons why we use it. So inshallah, when we learn the lesson, when we go into the lesson, we will come to know like what are the different possible ways where we can use al-maf'ul mutlaq. Al-maf'ul li'ajlihi. So I thought like we have a good chance to complete them all today. The object of reason, and it is used to describe the reason of an action. For example, we say darabtuhu ta'diban, I struck him or I hit him to discipline him. So here we have al-maf'ul.
We can use in order to discipline him also, right? Ustad?
Yes, exactly. That's right. Yeah. And then we have the last one, al-maf'ul ma'ahu, the object of togetherness, and it comes after waw al-ma'iyah. As we know that waw have different types, and this waw is called waw al-ma'iyah. And how would we know that this is that type of waw? Whenever, at least whenever we are reciting the Quran, we will see that after this, the noun will be mansub. And it is used for what? It shows basically togetherness and attachment. For example, in the Quran, we have Ya Jibalu, awwabi ma'ahu wa tayra. So now we can see here, O mountains, echo Allah's praise with him, and the birds too. So here, the mountains have been asked to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the birds as well. So as we can see over here, this is called waw al-ma'iyatu, which basically shows the togetherness of an action that will take place. This is not very common, it's not used a lot, but because we have example from the Quran, so we have to learn this all. Yes. So inshallah, whenever you are reciting the Quran, when you see that waw, we know that there are different types of waw. For example, waw al-qasmiyah, like wal asri, and similarly wal shamsi wal qamari, and we see that when after waw, when the noun is majroor,
while the sun is setting, that is waw of something. Why? And the sun was setting. We in the previous lessons we learned.
Yeah, dakhaltu al-masjida wal shamsu taghrubu. That is waw al-hal. That is the most common. That is used a lot in the Quran. That's the most common, waw al-hal, and that basically comes with the nominal sentence. Dakhaltu al-masjida wal imamu yarka'u. I entered the masjid and the imam was doing ruku'. So that is the most common one that we have learned. So we have learned waw al-hal, waw al-qasmiya, similarly, waw al-istinafiya, that is atf as well. Yeah, so alhamdulillah, many types of them. And this is one of them. So this is what we say, the 5 objects, al-mafa'ilu, al-khamsatu, and inshallah, in today's lesson, our focus will be al-maf'ulu, al-mutlaqu. So what is basically al-maf'ul al-mutlaq? This is called the absolute object. Darabani Bilalun darban. Daraba yadribu. And what is the masdar? Darban. And we have seen in the previous slide that basically when masdar is used for the purpose of emphasis, then the absolute object or al-maf'ul al-mutlaq is used. So when we say darabani Bilalun, that means like he hit me, but it can be like something very mild, or he only touched me, something like this. But if I say darabani Bilalun darban, that means that he really hit me, and that was a strong beating. So Bilal beat me, a beating. The translation will be always like this. But in the Quran, the translation is always like this. But whenever I translate it, I say that like he hit me as I deserved to be hit. Like to do something that deserves to be done. So this is why we use absolute mutlaq, or we say maf'ul mutlaq, the absolute object, where we want to say that something was supposed to be done in that manner. So that's what we say, al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. And what is this? This is basically masdar of the verb occurring in the sentence used along with the verb for the sake of emphasis. And this is always mansub. Okay, so now as we said that it can be used for different purposes. The most important purpose is emphasis. That's the most important. But then it has several purposes as well. For example, لِلتَّأْكِيدِ الْمَعْنَى, to emphasize the meaning. For example, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. So this is basically the emphasis part. Then لِبِعَانِ الْعَدَدِ, to specify the number. طُبِعَ الْكِتَابُ طَبْعَتَيْن, the book was printed twice. So here it is basically taba'a, yatba'u taba'atan, and also taba'atan. So this is basically the masdar, which tells us that the book was printed 2 times. And if it is more than 2 times, thalathatu atba'in, and we know that we have to use the plural. But here we can see tubi al-kitabu taba'ataini, the book was printed twice. Libyan al-nawi, this is also very common to specify the type of an action. Mata mauta shuhada, he died the death of martyrs. So now we can see that it is always mansub, number 1. So when we talk about libyan and naru, to specify the type of an action, so it's normally used as mudaf, or it is after that we will see that it always has an adjective that comes after that. So there are 2 possibilities for libyan and naru. Either it is used as mudaf, or there will be an adjective that will follow it. And then we have al-masdaru an-naibu an fi'lihi, and sometimes we have as a substitute for its verb. For example, when we say shukran, here the masdar is substitute for the verb ashkuru, which is omitted. And we have learned a lot about omission and why and how many like places are there. Most of the places are there when the doer gets dropped. So shukran is basically ashkuruka shukran, but there is no need to say ashkuruka shukran. Similarly, when we say ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban, so also these are basically all of them are object, or they are all of them are masdar. But sometimes in Arabic it is wajib to drop the subject, and similarly in shukran it's wajib. Afwan also it's wajib, and similarly when we say ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban, then there is no need to say ashkuruka shukran, afawtuka afwan, yani I forgave you, so, or you're welcome. So in that case there is no need to use and the subject. We will only use masdar, and that will basically tell us that we are communicating a message. So taqid, then we have adad, now, and naib, or we can say like al-masdar al-naib or naib al-masdar, which is basically used to describe an action. So we have here ta'kid, adad, now, and masdar al-naib or naib al-masdar. So now we will see that how many deputies of the masdar are there, huh? because masdar has its deputies as well. And what happens? The following words basically they deputize for masdar and are therefore mansub. So they are not masdar in nature, or grammatically they are not masdar, but what they do, the function is they function as the deputy of masdar. And that's why grammatically they are also regarded as al-maf'ulu al-mutlaqu. Now the first one is here, ba'd, and also we have here kullu wa ba'du wa ayyu mudafadan ila al-masdari. When you say a'rifuhu kull al-ma'rifati, I know him very well, or I know him fully well, as we can see the translation over here. So the words like ayyu, ba'du, and kullu, they are used as the deputies of the masdar. Kullu wa ba'du wa ayyu mudafatan ila al-masdari. A'rifuhu kull al-ma'rifati. And we have to make sure that this is always mansub. Then we have in the Quran, fajliduhum thamanina jaldatan. And now we can see over here that thamanina is basically functioning or working as the deputy of the masdar. A number which with the masdar as it is tamyiz. So thamanina, as we know, the numbers are basically used as tamyiz, and inshallah we will learn about it in the following lesson. Flog them 80 stripes. So we can see over here that kullu, ba'du, wa ayyu, and similarly the numbers, they can also function as the deputy of the masdar. Then we have fahimtu darsa fahman jayyidan, and I remember that we discussed in detail about this in book number 2. So here basically you want to say fahimtu darsa jayyidan, and there is no need to say fahimtu darsa fahman jayyidan. So what happened over here? An adjective of the masdar which itself is omitted. So here the masdar itself got dropped. It is omitted, and the adjective that follows it is being used over here. So whenever we use the word jayyidan, that means fahman or whatever was before that, whatever we mean to talk about, that masdar has been dropped. So fahimtu darsa jayyidan, and it's not really right to say fahimtu darsa fahman jayyidan. We don't see like this in Arabic language. Then we have ism al-masdar, and we will learn about this in this lesson. Kallamani kalaman shadidan. He spoke to me harsh words. And basically ism al-masdar is like it does not necessarily belong to the word itself. For example, who will give me the masdar of kallama? Kallama yukallimu
Takliman.
takliman, yeah. But here we don't have takliman. We have the same root words, but here we don't have takliman. So this is called ism al-masdar, where you will see that 1 or 2 letters are less than the real masdar. The real masdar is takliman, but here we have kalaman. So taklim has 5 letters and this one has 4. So that's why what happens, or sometimes they are the same root letters, but we use a different word or from different bab, I would say. So as we know that kalaman is basically from bab number 1, which is basically from number 1 basic form. And here we are using it in the place of masdar itself. Then we have masdarun yulaqihi fil ishtiqaq. Wa tuhibbuna al-mala hubban jamma. And you love wealth with an abounding love. So now what happens over here? This is called the cognate masdar, and here it basically matches with the masdar. It's not nowhere near masdar, but it matches masdar. So hubban is basically from number 1. Habba yuhibbu yahubbu hubban. And then we have from number 4, ahabba yuhibbu ihbaban. But generally in Arabic language, we don't use the masdar for from number 4. The masdar that is used is for from number 1. Wa tuhibbuna. Which bab is this? Tuhibbuna. Ahabba yuhibbu ihbaban. On the pattern of aslama yuslimu islaman. Yeah, so in the Quran, what do we have? Wa tuhibbuna al-mala hubban jamma. And we don't have wa tuhibbuna al-mala tahbiban jamma. Yeah, or ihbaban jamma, right? Yeah. So as we can see over here, so this is also one of the possibilities that can be used, and we can see the examples from the Quran. And it always, whenever we refer to the rules of grammar or any rules of Arabic language, of course, we must always refer to the Quran. Sometimes Ismul Ishara can be used as the deputy of the masdar. For example, you say, "Atastaqbiluni hadha al-istiqbal?" And you're like, do you accord me this kind of reception, or do you welcome me like this? So now here, Ismul Ishara is basically doing the job of, or it's basically the naib al-masdar, where it is used to show that something has happened over here. And how does that happen? You're saying that, talking about the manner, like, did you welcome me like this? Especially when we say when you're not happy about something, or we were expecting something big to happen, but no one came over there to welcome. So, أتستقبلوني هذا الاستقبال? Do you accord me or welcome me like this? Then we have ضميره العائد إليه, a pronoun referring to masdar. Pronoun. اجتهدت اجتهادا لم يجتهده غيري. So here basically, who is referring to ijtihad? لم يجتهده غيري. So sometimes ضمير العائد can also be used as the deputy of the masdar. And the last one, عشت حياة سعيدة. مرادف is basically used for the words that are synonyms. So مرادف, yeah, synonym of the masdar. So عشت حياة سعيدة. So عاش يعيش عيشا. So instead of عيشا, we have حياة سعيدة, but it gives the same meaning of عيشا or عيشة, as we have in the Quran, عيشة الرادية. So عشت عيشة سعيدة, but also it's possible to say عشت حياة سعيدة. So here the synonym is basically doing the job of the naibul masdar. So there are like 8 possibilities that we can see over here, where the masdar uses its deputies to communicate the meaning of masdar or the meaning of al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. And of course, we know that it's lots of information, but inshallah, when we learn the lesson, we will discuss all of them one by one in detail. And then you know that when we do the exercises, we will learn more about that. So inshallah, there is no need to worry about it. Everything will be okay.
Sure.
And then we have learned, I've discussed about this earlier, so a little bit more about this, the cognate masdar, masdarun yulaqihi fil ishtiqaq. So the example that we have learned over here, that the bab might be something from different like category. For example, we have thalathiyun mazidun fihi al-fi'l, and masdar is basically thalathiyun mujarradun, that we have discussed in the previous slide. Wa tuhibbun al-mala hubban jamma. So habba yuhibbu hubban is basically the root letter, and it has 3 root letters. And here we have ahabba yuhibbu ihbaban. So what's common over here? Basically the root letters. Yeah, so sometimes the root letters will be the same, but the masdar will be different.
Will be less than the original root letter.
The original root letter.
Plus the fee.
Yeah, and here we have the second example. وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا. So battala yubattilu tabtilan is bata and lam. But in the Quran, what do we have? Watabattal, tabattala yatabattalu. So this is from number 5. And this is from number 2. So again, since the root letters are the same.
Tabattilan, something like that, right?
Watabattal ilayhi tabtila, yeah.
No, if it is not the actual distinct, what should be the original one?
Tabattulan.
Okay.
وتبتل إليه تبتلا. تبتل يتبتل تبتلا.
So it is because it has the same root letters, but we will catch up what is that? A masdar which has less letters.
Letters, excellent. And also
which share the common root letters, and we will replace that with the original with that one, right?
With that one. And also we will see, inshallah, when we look at the translation, we will see that it is basically used for the purpose of emphasis. So now we can see that there are many ways, or there are many reasons that the noun can be mansub. We have seen al-mafa'il wal-khamsatu, and now we can see that the noun can be mansub, but from al-mafa'il al-khamsa, this al-maf'ul al-mutlaq has lots of categories over there. So inshallah, whenever you are reciting the Quran and you focus on that, then things will become, inshallah, easier and clearer. Now we move on to lesson number 28, Ad-Darsu Al-Thaminu Wal-Ishruna. Lesson number 28. Hamidun قدوما مباركا يا أستاذ متى قدمت من السفر. So قدوما مباركا is similar to shukran, or it is similar to ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban. So now it's basically the main verb is qadima yaqdamu. So basically, what do you want to say? Qadimta quduman mubarakan ya ustadu. That your arrival is a blessed arrival. And then you say mata qadimta min as-safari, and when did you come, or when did you arrive from the journey. So now we can see that here it is basically being used for libyan nawi, like how. So we have seen that either it will be used for now, or it will be used for the purpose of emphasis. And these two are very common, libyan nawi or libyan ta'kidi. Blessed arrival, O teacher, when did you arrive from your travel? Al-Mudarrisu, Barakallahu Feek, may Allah bless you. Qadimtu al-Barihata, I arrived last night. Or midnight, okay. Ya Hamzatu, Aghliq al-Baba, close the door. Ighlaqan, okay, closing. So I'm giving you the translation. Mutlaq, okay, for what, for the purpose of emphasis or now? Emphasis, okay. Yeah, Ya Hamzatu, Aghliq al-Baba ighlaqan, close the door closing, as it is, close it tightly. وخفف سرعة المروحة, and وخفف سرعة المروحة. Yeah, and reduce the speed of the fan, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, مروحة. So أغلق يغلق أغلاقا. So أغلق is فعل الأمر, and خفف يخفف تخفيفا, and خفف is also فعل الأمر. Yeah, this is from number 4 and this is from number 2. وخفف سرعة المروحة, and reduce the speed of the fan. So what about here? سرعة المروحة. What about this one?
This is this one mudaf and mudaf.
Okay, excellent. So is it like being used as masdar or not? Is it libyan now, or just like being used as mudaf ilayh because of khafif?
Maybe it's
Maf'ul bihi, right?
Yes.
Maf'ul bihi, no?
Okay. Deputy of what? Mirwaha?
Of now.
Okay, I don't think so. Okay, let's see. So here we have lit ta'kid al-ma'na for the purpose of emphasis. And that's it. Yeah, may Allah bless you.
Sifat, maybe? No, it's
now.
now.
He's just saying just reduce the speed of the fan. So I don't think it's like being used as any of the deputies, that it's not like one of the categories that we have discussed earlier.
Okay.
So, oh Hamza, close the door completely and reduce the speed of the fan. So really it's difficult to translate al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. And that's why in the Quran you will see different translations. And the real translation will be close the door closing. As we know that like masdar is basically translated as gerund.
As it deserves to be closed.
Yeah, as it deserves to be closed. And وَخَفِّفْ سُرْعَةَ الْمِرْوَحَةِ, and he's asking him to reduce the speed of the fan. Hamzatu, أَتَكْفِي هَذِهِ السُّرْعَةُ. So he's just simply asking,
is that enough?
Yeah, is this speed enough? Let's see what does the teacher say. Al-Mudarrisu, La لقد خففتها كل التخفيف. Now we can see here.
About the amount.
Yeah. The teacher wants to say like you have completely stopped it. Like you have almost totally or completely stopped it. So now we know that kulla and similarly ayyu wa ba'du, they are used as the na'ib of masdar, right?
Yes.
So laqad khaffaftaha kulla takhfifi, the teacher says, yeah, this is na'ib al-masdar, and it is basically used for the libyan now. No, indeed, you have completely reduced it. That means, for example, I mean the speed. So the teacher says that you have completely reduced the speed of the fan. What does he say? He says, أردت أن تخففها بعد التخفيف. And now the students are also, mashallah, students of the Sheikh. So they are also using something similar to say to that. So he says, أردت أن تخففها, I want you to reduce it. بعد التخفيف a little bit. Yani I want you to reduce it a bit. Yeah. So that's basically what he's saying. So this is also naibul masdar, and also it is used for لبيان النوعي. And the translation says, I wanted you to slightly reduce it. So أردت أن تخففها بعد التخفيف. I think the translation is
So
wrong.
this is actually the Ustad only is telling.
The teacher is telling, yes. Yeah.
I wished I wanted that you reduce it a little bit
Yeah,
slightly.
I wanted you to slightly reduce it. Okay, thank you. And then what does the teacher say? زدها زيادة طفيفة. Okay, now the teacher says increase it a little bit more.
مفعول مطلق.
Yeah, مفعول. Is it?
زدها
زدها زيادة طفيفة.
صفات, I think.
Yeah. So we have زاد يزيد, and then this is فعل الأمر. زد زاد يزيد زيادة. Okay, so this is لبيان النوع, and increase it a bit. So زدها زيادة طفيفة. Increased it a bit. Now, how would we know that it is used for لبيان النوع? How would we know that? The adjective, basically, the adjective tells us that this is not maf'ul mutlaq. Yeah, this is not used as, this is not used for the purpose of emphasis. It is used for the purpose of to describe the narrow, the type of masdar that it is. For example, in the Quran we have inna fatahna laka fatahan mubina, right? So fatahan mubinan. So that means it is used for libyan and narrow, right? If it is only fatahan, then it will be for the purpose of emphasis. Yeah, maf'ul mutlaq. And here it is basically used for the purpose of type, what kind of a masdar it is. The teacher says, لقد قرأت الدرس الجديد قراءتين يوم الأربعاء.
عدد.
Yeah, so قرأت الدرس الجديد. So I've read the new lesson. قراءتين, how many times? Twice. When? يوم الأربعاء. Yeah. So what day is this? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday, excellent. Tuesday is يوم الثلاثاء, and this is يوم الأربعاء. Okay. So again, here it is used to لبيان العدد, as we can see. So when we want to talk about how many times we did something, then this is how we use it. And indeed, I read the new lesson twice on Wednesday. So لقد قرأت الدرس الجديد قراءتين يوم الأربعاء. اهتممت في القراءة الأولى بالإعراب. So اهتم يهتم اهتماما is to care about something. Yeah.
Give importance, is it?
To give importance to something, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
For example, when you say لا أهتم, يعني I don't care. So اهتممت في القراءة الأولى بالإعراب. So the first reading was what? Al-Qira'a is Masuf and Al-Ula is Sifa. And what was the emphasis, or where was the importance?
The Irab.
Where was the focus? The focus was on Irab, the case endings. Yeah. وفي أثناء القراءة الثانية, and during the second reading, شرحت لكم I explained لكم المفردات. What will be the ending of مفردات?
لكم مفردات.
The ending?
No. شرحت مفرداتي. Sorry.
Excellent. Yeah.
Tin, Ustad.
Okay. And what will be the ending of? Yeah. What will be the ending of al-Jadid?
المفردات
الجديدة غير لكن.
No.
غير لكن. جديدة.
This is Mansub, right?
I know, but what will be the ending of Jadid? Jadida.
جديدة.
Excellent. Yeah. This is what the Arabic language is all about. And this is where it gets slightly like confusing, because we know that mufradat is like jam'ul salim lil mu'annath. Yeah. And we know that it is marfu with dhamma and mansub and majroor with kasra. So basically it is mansub, right? But it is mansub with kasra. For example, we say khalaqallahu al-arda was-samawati, right? So al-ard is mansub with fatha, but as-samawat, because it's on the pattern of at, so it does not take fatha, it takes only kasra, so it is mansub with kasra. and also majroor with kasra, as we know that. So al-mufradati al-jadidata, the new vocab, sharhan wajizan. A slight, yani, yeah, explanation. Yes. So sharhan wajizan. So what kind? What does
like
it?
jiddan, like jiddan,
Like
Ustad.
jiddan. Okay. La, but here we have sharhan, and after that we have the adjective used for that.
That's a sifat. Lil,
Libyanan nawr.
yeah.
Libyanan nawr. Okay.
Yeah.
Because whenever we have adjective after the of the masdar, then it becomes libyanan nawri. So the teacher says, in my first reading, I paid attention to case endings, or I focused on the case endings. Yani, as we know that Arab is basically dealing with the case endings. And during the second reading, I explained new words with short explanation. Sharh wajizan, short explanation. وقبل أن أشرح لكم الدرس شرحا مفصلا, and before I وقبل أن أشرح
لكم
أن أشرح
أن
أشرح لكم الدرس شرحا مفصلا. So before I explain the lesson to you, explaining يعني completely, أريد أن أسمع or أسمع
أن أسمع
أن أسمع
Okay. أريد أن أسمع منكم
آياتي
الواردة
الحمد لله الواردة في هذا الدرس فهاتوها. So bring them. Excellent. Okay. So now we see over here that again this is Libyan and Naru, because after sharhan we have the adjective that is being used over there. Sharhan mufassalan. Yeah. فصل يفصل تفصيلا. So مفصل and مفصل, right? Something that is explained in detail. And before I explain the lesson to you in detail, I want to listen to the following verses from you, which we have in this lesson. So read them to me. We have a surah in the Quran with the same root letters, Fa, Sad, and Lam. Fassala. So what's the name of the surah? Fussilat. Yeah, explained in detail. Excellent. Yeah. So that's the passive form of Fussilat, and the passive form will be Fussilat. Okay. And now, alhamdulillah, we have lots of verses from the Quran. So, Hamidun wa kallam Allahu Musa taklima. So this one, which type is this? Excellent. Perfect. For the purpose of? Emphasis. Excellent. Yeah. So this is basically للتأكيد المعنى. And Allah Azza wa Jal spoke to Moses with direct speech. Now, if you look at the translation is completely different, right? So the translation, in some of the translations you will see, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Musa alayhi salam speaking. They will translate it as it is, takliman, speaking. And in some translations we will see, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Musa alayhi salam with direct speech. Then we have Hamzatu warattilil Qur'ana tartila.
This is also maf'ul mutlaq.
Excellent.
And
لِتَأْكِيدِ الْمَعْنَى. Yeah, and also it has different translations, and recite the Quran with measured recitation. Now we can say and recite the Quran as it deserves to be recited. But this is our own translation. Of course, whenever we talk about the translation, we have to always refer to the authentic translations that we have available. Aliyun, inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. What about tasliman?
Taslima is maf'ul mutlaq.
No, sallama.
Sallama yusallimu taslima.
That one cognate or something we learned, no, sir, maybe that is.
Why?
No?
Why do you say that?
Sallama.
وسلموا تسليما. سلما يسلم
This is maf'ul
تسليما.
mutlaq only. Yeah.
Okay, للتأكيد المعنى, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, للتأكيد المعنى, because this is basically فعل الأمر, so we don't really need to get confused with فعل الأمر. The only thing that we have to see on the masdar, what kind of masdar it is and why it is being used. Okay, what do you think about tasliman? Lam should have kasra, right? Tasliman. Sallama yusallimu. Tasliman.
Yeah.
And yeah, indeed, Allah sends His blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and His angels pray for him. O you who believe, invoke Allah's blessings upon him and send him greetings of peace. Wasallimu taslima, and send him greetings of peace. So again, sometimes, to be honest, the translation really doesn't satisfy. So that's why when you learn the Arabic language and when you know what it means, it's only the feeling that you have, and it's only the kind of feeling that we can have, like what exactly it is. And the translation can't really like satisfy or justify the purpose of the language or what we are learning. So that's why, inshallah, when we are able to understand directly, that definitely feels better and feels like amazing, rather than just relying on the translation all the time. So do you agree with me or not? I mean, do you find something different, or is it like the same? Anything that you feel like, okay, now alhamdulillah, my understanding of the Quran has improved and I'm feeling better now?
But again, it depends on each person who has understood this thing very well, Ustad. Like again, we have to go and see the translations of various like Qurtubi or something.
I would
like
definitely
that to
say, yeah, for the
yes,
first
because
time.
it will be left to our own imagination, and that's what we cannot like without knowledge of what exactly it means, because in what context and how it is used, that will be understood only when we have been in that era or something like that.
I agree, yeah, but
something
I mean,
like that.
but what I meant is basically when you say وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا, even if you look at 15 translations of the Quran, you will not get that feeling that we have said, like recite the Quran as it deserves to be recited. Right?
Exactly.
So now we can't really translate it because we can't.
We cannot even describe how we need to say that as well, right?
That's right. Yeah. So the other language can't do that. That's what I meant. I mean, so when inshallah, when we have that feeling, we will really feel like, at least I feel like really joyous, and I feel happy that I'm getting the meaning that from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, that really needs to be over there. And it's not like the translation that I always need. But of course, I would never say that, even including myself, that we should try and think about translating or think about something like, okay, I know now, I don't need translation. We will always need it. And I was reading about a sheikh, he wrote that like when he was writing the translation of the Quran, he would always consult around 10 translations of different, writers, and then he will write his own translation. And he's a sheikh. So inshallah, with the passage of time, we will definitely get used to it. But again, it's not about translating, it's about, absorbing the language and enjoying the beauty of the language and the beauty of the Quran. Usama says, it's basically the verse of the Quran, فَيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ أَنَّا صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا ثُمَّ شَقَقْنَا الْأَرْضَ شَقًّا. So we have here sabba and shaqqa. So what do you think now?
This is maful mutlaq, Ustad.
Excellent. لِتَأْكِيدِ الْمَعْنَى, right? So here, and what about the second one?
The same thing, Ustad.
The same thing here. Excellent. Okay. Then let mankind, okay, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانِ. Why do we, why the mudari is majzoom over here? That's number one, it's majzoom. And number two, what kind of lam is this?
Lam of command.
Lam of command, excellent, perfect, yes. And we know that it makes the mudari majzoom. Excellent. And it gives the meaning of let. Let, as we can see over here, or he should, or I should, or we should. So فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Sorry, so we have here, and then let mankind look at his food, how we pour down with water in torrents, abundance, and then we broke open the earth, splitting it with sprouts. So now ثُمَّ شَقَقْنَا الْأَرْضَ شَقًّا, and then we broke open the earth as it deserved to be broken open. But the translation, again, as we can see over here, is different. Then we broke open the earth, splitting it with sprouts. All right, so maybe a little bit more. Al-Harith. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah. And what will be the ending of Lafz al-Jalala? Of course, it's the Quran, and we know that we have to follow that. آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا. Qawl is the masdar, but after that we have adjective, right? Say the straight word or the right word. So that means this is libyanil.
No.
No, okay. يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم. Quickly, please tell me. يصلح is majzoom and يغفر is majzoom. Why are they majzoom?
This is this
Yeah,
term.
Is it jawab al-shart or is it jawab al-talab? Talab, yeah, because qulu is fi'l al-amr and ittaqu is also fi'l al-amr, yeah. So whenever we have talab, then jawab al-talab, the madari is always majzoom. So that's why yuslih and yaghfir, they are majzoom. وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Now, yuti' is majzoom. Why is it majzoom?
This is shart.
Yeah, this is shart. Excellent. Now this is because of shart. Alhamdulillah, yeah. So وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ, it was basically yuti'u, and we know that ayn is sakin and ya is sakin, and we know that when we have two root letters, they are sakin, the weak one gets dropped. So it becomes وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Allahumma ja'alna minhum. So what do you think about fawzan azima?
It's a kind.
Faza?
Anwa.
Faza yafuzu fawzan.
It's a kind of that. It's not.
Yeah, and when we know that whenever we have adjective that follows it, then it is used for libyanin now. So here we have qawlan, basically sadid, and is libyanin now. Yeah, and also this one is the same. It is libyanin now. So like qawl is masdar basically, and fawz is masdar. But when we see that there is adjective after that, and that means that it is not used for taqid, it is basically used for libyanin now. And O you who have believed, fear Allah and speak words of appropriate justice. He will then amend for you your deeds and forgive you your sins. And whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger. So it's not only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. And when we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, what do we get? Then we attain the great attainment. And what is that? That is basically Al-Jannah. And that is the absolute target of every Muslim. And that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us with Jannatul Firdaus. All right. So Hamidun az-zaniyatu waz-zani fajlidu kulla wahidin minhuma mi'ata jalda.
This is even now. Adad and kulla is about the kind.
Adad?
Adad and
Adad and yes. Okay, excellent. So here we have na'ibul masdar basically, and this na'ibul masdar is being used over here, yeah, for the numbers. All right. So az-zaniyatu waz-zani fajlidu kulla wahidin. So basically kulla wahidin here is maf'ul bihi, isn't it? So it's not necessary that whenever we have the word kullun or kulla or kulli, that means it is always used as masdar. We can see that here it is used basically as maf'ul bihi. Kulla wahidin minhuma miyata jaldatin, and miyata jaldatin is basically naibul masdar libyanil adadi. As for the woman and the man who commits fornication, flog each of them 100 lashes. So miyata jaldatin, as we can see over here. And we know that miyatun wa alfun
here means every man.
Everyone, yeah, everyone, yeah. Every one of them basically, yeah.
Okay.
And miyata, as we know, miyatun wa alfun, they are always used as mudaf, right? And then after that it will be mudaf ilayh. Okay, Usamatu wala tabarrajna tabarrujal jahiliyatil ula. Tabarruj.
Displaying of the
excellent.
Jahiliyyah?
So tabarruj is from number 5, and this is the masdar tabarruj. So this
It
is
is like
ta'kid al-ma'na, right? This is for ta'kid al-ma'na, right? Because this is directly being used after the verb, and there is nothing as an adjective
There's
being
no
used after
adjective
that.
after that.
Adjective
Yeah.
after that. Okay, so why is it libyan al-naw? It's libyan al-ta'kid al-ma'na, right? Or
It's
ولا تبرجنا تبرج الجاهلية
is
الأولى.
it cognate like as you said?
Cognate, yeah, exactly. It's cognate because it's used as mudaf, and al-jahiliyat al-ula is mudaf ilayh. So this is the cognate masdar, yes.
Once more you explain us that, please.
Sorry?
Please explain once more.
ولا تبرجنا تبرج الجاهلية الأولى. So we can see over here that this is from number 5, and this is the masdar that is being used over here. But the thing over there after that we need to see is it's also used as mudaf, and then al-jahiliyat al-ula is mudaf ilayh. So whenever we have adjective after that, or whenever it is being used as mudaf, then it will be used for the purpose of libyan an-naw. And when it is used only exclusively by itself, then it will be used للتأكيد المعنى. For example, the example we have learned from the Quran, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. So after that, there is nothing after that. So I remember now, yeah. So whenever we have adjective after that, or whenever we have, when it is used as mudaf, and then we have mudaf ilayh after that, and then it means that is also used for libyan now.
Right. Okay.
And al-jahiliya is mawsuf, and al-ula is sifa, right? Ya Ahmadu, al-mudarrisu ya Ahmadu, and Ahmad says, labbayka ya ustadhu. Labba yulabbi talbiyatan, from number 2. Labba yulabbi talbiyatan. And labbayka ya ustadhu. So basically he says, here I am, O teacher. And that's what when we go for Umrah and we go for Hajj, yeah, we pronounce labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. La sharika laka labbaik. So this is basically, we pronounce this where we pronounce that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are over here to seek your mercy and rahmah. So we can also use it when someone is calling you. So you can also say labbaika to your, of course, brother or father, and labbaiki to your sister or your mother. Labbaiki ya ustadatu. Al-mudarrisu atajlisu fil fasli hadha al-julus. Okay, so the teacher says, do you sit in the classroom this kind of sitting? So here hadha is basically
Ismul ishara is
used as the naibul masdar. Okay, and al-julus is mansub because it is maf'ul bihi of tajlisu. And we know jar majroor generally it is basically muta'allaq al-fi'l. It's about the verb, as we can see over here. Ijlis jilsata talibi ilmin. And he says, sit like the sitting of a student. Jilsa, I think, yeah, I remember we did not. It's basically being used here as mudaf, and this is mudaf ilayh. But then again, it has its yeah, but it has it has its own purpose as well. And inshallah, when we discuss about discuss in the example, I mean the exercises, we will learn more about it. So here it is libyanu now, but then again, inshallah, we will learn more about it as well. It has different specific wazn or awzan, which is basically used to convey the meaning. So what does the teacher say? The teacher says, do you sit in the classroom like this? Sit like the sitting of a student. So sit like the students sit in the classroom. Ahmed says, sam'an wa ta'atan. What about this one?
We listen and we hear.
I heard and I obeyed. Yeah.
Like shukran.
So, sami'tu sam'an wa ata'atu ta'atan. Yes. Like ashkuruka shukran. So this is one of the places where it is necessary to drop the subject. We don't have to bring in the subject. Yeah, delete it over here. And this is basically al-masdaru an-naibu an fi'lihi. So this is basically doing the job of the fi'l by itself. So what we have to do, we have to remove the verb completely. The verb has to be removed. So you don't really say sami'tu sam'an, you simply say sam'an wa ta'atan. I heard and I obeyed. المدرس الآن أملي عليكم كلمات من الدرس إملاء. أملا يملي إملاء is to dictate.
Fill Ustad?
Yeah, fill in the
Dictation.
blanks. Yeah, dictation
Okay.
basically. Yeah. So الآن أملي عليكم كلمات من الدرس إملاء فاكتبوا. So write them. So إملاء, this is للتأكيد المعنى, right? So the teacher did not add anything after that. So it's basically the master using for أملا يملي إملاء فاكتبوا and write. للتأكيد المعنى. So now I will dictate some new words from the lesson, dictating. So write them. And that, I think that's the only translation, or I will dictate some of the words that are difficult or complicated or that are important. So we can take any meaning from that, but exactly, we don't really know what exact meaning is. So that's why I translated it as it is. Now I will dictate some new words from the lesson, dictating. Usamatu mahlan ya ustadu. Lamma nasta'idda. Lamma, when it comes with the present tense, will mudari, then it makes mudari majzoom.
Majzoom.
Yeah, so here it was basically nasta'iddu, and we know that the dhamma has changed into fatha. So this is also one of the things. And when it comes with the mudari, it means not yet. So what about mahlan ya ustadu?
Excuse me.
Imhal mahlan ya ustadu. Yeah, so again they are asking the teacher to slow down.
Slowly.
And again here the verb has been dropped. Yeah, so it's basically naib al masdar an failihi. It's doing the job of the verb. So al masdaru naibu an failihi, and slowly, please, O teacher, we aren't ready yet. Mahlan ya ustadu. Lamma nasta'idda, we aren't ready yet. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.